c5. We have the Sicilian, knight to f3, knight c6, and bishop b5, the Rosolimo on the board. Castles, bishop to g7, and now the rook comes to e1. Gukesh has this well prepared. Hans goes e5 in the center. He's played this before against Ivan Cheparinov, as recent as the FIDE Grand Swiss. Pawn to a4 played, and now he plays his queen to e7. Pawn comes up to a5. Gukesh trying to grab some space on the queen side. The knight comes out to f6, and now pawn to d3. Black castles. And Gukesh now plays pawn to h3 so that when he puts his bishop on e3, it's not hassled with knight to g4 ideas. Hans Niemann now has to fix up a plan on how he would like to continue. He goes knight e8, a very common plan. Knight c7, knight e6, looking at these two squares. He goes knight to d2. And now knight goes to c7. The idea of this move, knight c4, is f6. Now defending this so that knight e6 comes in. You go bishop e3, and this was all been played before. I think a game between Raunak Sadhwani and Anish Giri has happened here. Knight e6, c3, and rook to d8, and also queen c2. Here Gukesh thinks for a bit and plays it. Now the best move here is bd7, but he goes rook b8, and that is a small error because now you can see the a7 pawn is hanging. And I wonder if Gukesh will be able to understand that this is a problem, and he finds it immediately almost. He plays his pawn to b4, an excellent move, because if takes, there's bishop takes a7 hanging. And Hans now lashes out with b5, en passant, takes, and Gukesh is thinking now he's better clearly. He's going to take here on c5. If pawn takes, that ruins the structure totally. But if knight takes, then d4 is a powerful move here. And he finds it. Pawn to d4. If takes, takes. Now the e4 pawn is a bit soft here in the center. And maybe Hans can go for it, like for example takes, and now if you take queen e4, I have queen e4, knight e4, bishop f4, attacking the rook and the knight. So he goes back and keeps an eye on the d4 pawn. But just for a moment, look at this position. It's insane. d5. Gukesh is like, I'm not even going to think, I'm just going all in, playing with my intuition here. Takes, pawn takes. I just know that something's going to happen here on the e file, and I think Gukesh's intuition is 100% right. Bishop f4 is a great move here, and he finds it. Bishop f4, you can't take with the knight because the queen is hanging. The rook is under pressure here. And there are hardly any moves in this position. He goes rook b7. But now rook to a8 looks great to win this bishop. There's also knight to d6, which is a very, very powerful move. Because if rook takes, I can take, queen takes, and then the c8 bishop is hanging. So tactics galore here. Gukesh now takes his time because the part of intuition is done. Now it's all about calculation, and you want to be as precise as possible. He finds the move knight d6. If rook to c7 here, then knight takes c8, attacks the queen and also the rook. So that doesn't work. And Hans Niemann now taking his time for the next move. And he doesn't have too much time. He's down to 1 minute 19 seconds. He goes rook c5, and Gukesh doesn't even think about moves like knight c8. He just moves his queen, and he's attacking here. Threat is to take on c8 and the rook, and there's no way you can prevent it because the rook is also hanging. So how can you protect the rook, the bishop, and then the knight? It seems almost impossible to do it. And Hans Niemann is almost lost here after just 25 moves. Look at Hans there. He can't believe what has happened here. It's completely destroyed in this position. And he even is finding it difficult to make one move. He's down to 20 seconds on the clock. He's been thinking for a minute now. There's nothing more to do here. He could potentially resign here. He goes g5. And now Gukesh can take on c8 because it attacks the queen, and then take on e6. And he calms himself down because there's so many possibilities. There's rook to a8. There's knight to d4, taking advantage of this pin. He goes bishop g3, calmly brings his bishop back, doesn't even flinch. And Hans is like, oh, the problem is still persistent. Rook c7, takes on c8, rook c8. And now you can take on e6. It's game over. Queen goes to f7, and, well, you want to give rook e8 check, but right now it's not possible. But Gukesh goes rook a7. If you take queen a7, rook e8 is a mate, and Hans Niemann resigns. What a game by Gukesh, and Hans can't believe that he played not so well here, and he was completely outwitted by Gukesh, who moves on to 7.5 out of 11. And